Marriage is sacred, but when it comes to banking, you want to be polygamous. You want to have multiple relationships going on, essentially. You don't want to just stick to one bank. I know traditionally, a lot of people just stick to one bank, but with me, I probably got I don't even know how many banking relationships I have. I'm in bed with every bank. Just get all the relationships you can, build all those relationships, so you don't have to stick to one bank. When it comes to credit, how many of y'all feel like it's a little hard to understand, and you kind of confused when you're looking at your credit report? You don't know how to increase your score and things of that nature. So you're in the right room. Y'all in the right room. Y'all that raised y'all hands. So I want y'all to click on your TransUnion score, and then you should be able to scroll down and you'll see your credit factors. You're gonna see your credit factors. There's gonna be 6 different factors that make up your credit. So with these 6 factors, if you can hit certain data points, then your scores are gonna hit the 700 mark. So the first factor is your payment history. You wanna have 100% payment history. If you don't have 100% payment history, click on your payment history and see what accounts that you have late, and make a mental note of that. And with your payment history percentage, it's the biggest impact on your credit. It's 35% of your score. So one late payment could drop your score like 50 points. Second data point, credit card use. So the credit card use is a little tricky. Credit card use is 30% of your score. You want to keep it below 10%. So I know some people may tell you 30% is cool. 30% is where it's neutral, where it doesn't positively or negatively impact your credit profile. But in order to optimize your credit score, you want to make sure your credit usage is below 10%. Every month around this same time, your credit card company is going to report the balance to the credit bureaus. So what you want to do is make sure your balance is paid off by that reporting date. So just a little trick. Usually your due date is a few days before your statement date, and your statement date is usually the day that the bank reports the balance to the credit bureaus. It may be a day after, but you want to make sure those few days in between your due date and your statement date that you clear your balance. So you can use your credit card as much as you want to. You don't have to stop using your credit card. You can use it as much as you want to, but you want to make sure by that reporting date that the card is paid off. This is going to optimize your score. So when you learn how to use your credit card, you'll be able to maximize your score. Third component, derogatory marks. Derogatory marks are collection accounts. Let's say you had a medical bill. That thing was like $3,000-$4,000. You was like, man, I ain't paying that. 2-3 months later, you get a collection on your credit and you like, dang, my score dropped. If you don't pay the debt, that company will sell your debt to a third party, this third party collection company. That transaction is technically illegal. Nobody is supposed to report anything on your credit if you never sign any agreements. So with collection accounts, you can dispute these collection accounts as identity theft, and you could get the collection accounts removed. You can dispute it through the FTC. It's called identitytheft.gov. You can go through their process, and at the end, they'll have a PDF that you can download, and you can attach it to a basic dispute letter. And with that dispute letter, you send it off to all 3 credit bureaus or to the credit bureaus that collection is reporting on. Credit age. Credit age is the 4th factor on your credit report. Credit age is your average age of your old accounts and your new accounts. It's just the average, that's all it is. You typically want to have at least 2 years when it comes to your credit age. With your credit age, there's a couple of ways you can increase it. You can add the authorized user credit card accounts, but the way you do this, you want to make sure the card that you add is at least a few years older than what your current credit age is. So let's say your credit age is 2 years. Let's say you got 5 accounts on there. I would probably add a 10-year-old authorized user account. And with these authorized user accounts, you want to make sure the person that owns the credit card, you want to make sure they've never had a late payment. You want to make sure that they don't carry a balance on their card. If they carry a balance on the card, if they have a late payment on the card, it's going to negatively affect your score. So even though you add yourself as an authorized user, it can negatively affect your credit score if they have a late payment or they have a high balance on that credit card. 5th credit factor, total accounts. So when it comes to building up your credit profile, you want to have at least 5 accounts. And these 5 accounts, they could be a secured credit card, it could be a secured loan, it could be a personal loan, it could be an auto loan, student loan, regular credit card, any of those things. But you want to have at least 5 that's in good standing on your credit profile. So some of the accounts that I recommend Self is a credit building account that you can add on your profile. Kikoff is another credit builder account you can add on your profile. RentReporters is another good way to add age to your credit profile. What RentReporters does is they'll report, let's say you've been paying $2,000 a month, they'll report a $2,000 installment account, which is basically, it looks like a loan on your report, and this will help with some age because it'll backdate 5 to 10 years, just depending on how long you've been paying rent. So this is another way to add a primary account with age on your credit report if you don't want to do the authorized user credit card thing. And then you could do a secure loan and a secure credit card. If you're starting from scratch, there's 3 main components with your credit report. You have the credit repair process, the credit building process, and then the credit funding process. So with the credit repair process and the credit building process, you want to do that parallel, basically at the same time. What this means is, let's say you need to get items disputed off your credit report. You don't want to wait until you get your credit fixed up and then add credit building accounts. You want to do it at the same time. And the reason for this is, let's say it takes a year to get your credit fixed, and you wait after that year to start building up your credit profile, and you open up all these new accounts, you open up those 5 new accounts. You're gonna have to wait a year before you go to the credit funding process, because you can't really apply for like big boy and big girl credit cards and loans and lines of credit until you've established your credit profile. The banks aren't gonna lend you any money. You could try as much as you want to, but if your credit profile isn't established, the banks and credit unions aren't gonna give you anything. What you want to do is, as soon as you start the credit repair process, if you don't have those 5 positive accounts, you want to open all those accounts in the same month, and you want all those accounts to age while you're keeping up with your payments over that year. Once you do that, your credit repair process might be done at that same time, because it's typically 3 to 9 months for the credit repair. So if you do all that at the same time, you're looking at a year time frame. Now you can go to credit unions like True Lion, Navy Federal, and you can apply for a personal line of credit, personal credit card, personal loan. So now you're in the credit funding process. How it works is you build your report up, and you want to do this method, it's called credit card stacking. Essentially what it is you apply for a bunch of credit cards, maybe 4 or 5 different credit cards, all in one day. You apply for all these credit cards. If you're building up your report, I recommend going with credit unions first, because they're going to give you a higher limit typically. But you apply, let's say you apply for 4 credit cards, right? Each credit card give you $10,000. You just access $40,000 in capital just by using the credit card stacking method. Now, if you're at a level where you already have personal credit cards in good standing, you already have some student loans, you might got a mortgage, then you don't have to go with the credit unions, you can go with the bigger banks. The bigger banks, they typically like people with more established profiles, so you can go with like the Chases, the Bank of Americas, the Wells Fargos, and things of that nature. The last component is the hard inquiries. So with hard inquiries, you'll get a hard inquiry when the bank pulls your credit. You want to minimize these inquiries. When it comes to applying for credit cards, lines of credit, and loans, you don't want to space out when you apply, especially if you're trying to use these funds to start up a business. You want to do everything all at once, because just like with the credit building phase, you want those accounts to establish history all at the same time. So let's say you do a round of funding, you apply for 4 or 5 credit cards, loans, and lines of credit, you might get 50 to 100,000. You want to sit on that, probably wait for like a year or so, and then go for another round of funding. You could just get your payment history at 100% and your credit card utilization below 10%. More than likely, your score is going to be in the 600s, if not 700s, depending on if you have collection accounts and charge-off accounts. Your credit cards are revolving credit. So with revolving credit, basically what that means is once you pay it off, you still have access to the capital. With installment credit, those are your loans. So with installment credit, what that means is once you pay something off, you no longer have access to it. So just like a car loan, personal loan, once you pay it off, they close the account, you no longer have access to it. This is why I recommend credit cards and lines of credit. When I have my funding clients, we don't really do loans unless they request it. We always do credit cards, specifically 0% credit cards, and we do lines of credit. And the reason for that is because let's say you get approved for a $20,000 personal line of credit. You can max that, let's say you max it out for some type of investment, whether it's real estate, trucking, Airbnb, whatever the case may be. The money that you generate from that investment vehicle should be used to pay back the debt. So I know some people, they'll max out credit and they look at it like it's free money. You don't want to look at it like that. That's how you end up in debt. We don't want to use credit to get in consumer debt. We want to use credit to build wealth. So we want to use credit to leverage it to help us make more money. With the line of credit, you got the $20,000 line of credit. With your revenue, you pay it back over time, and with a line of credit, most times you create your terms. So if you want to pay it off in a year, you can. If you want to pay it off in 2 years, you can. If you want to pay it off in 3 years, you can. But once you pay it off, you still have access to the capital. With credit, it just takes time. You got to understand those three components: the credit repair piece, the credit building piece, and then the credit funding piece. But once you get your personal credit established, you can access funds. And once you are responsible with those personal funds, if you want to start a business, you can access business funds. But you can use personal funds too for your business as well, just to start off. You don't have to necessarily have your personal credit profile established and whatnot and try to get business funding. You may not get business funding. You can use your personal funds for your business. But just understand, you got to be responsible. It's a process. Everything doesn't happen overnight. It took me 10 years to get where I'm at. It's a process, but it could really be a wealth building tool if you know how to use it. I didn't understand credit at the magnitude that I understand it now. I thought credit was really just for emergencies. Like, you ain't really supposed to mess with your credit like that. Like, I ain't really think that I could get a credit card, I could pull cash off a credit card, and I can use that to start up a trucking business or Amazon drop shipping business. Or I could go buy a car off a 0% interest credit card, and I could use that vehicle or the trucking or the Amazon drop shipping and generate revenue from that capital from the credit card, and then I can pay back my credit. And once the credit is paid off, I have a cash flowing investment vehicle. So an extra $500, an extra $1,000 a month could do a lot for somebody on top of their job.